Alright, guys, welcome to the presentation on cell specialization. This will be a short video, hopefully, to give you a better understanding of what is cell specialization. So first, we're going to define cell specialization. We're going to state the importance of cell specialization, and then we're going to compare some specialized plant cells and animal cells and state their basic functions. Example like red blood cells that transport oxygen around the body, and the root hair cells absorb water and minerals from the soil. Alright, so what is cell specialization? Cell specialization slash differentiation, so these two terms are actually speaking to the same thing right here, refers to when a cell is modified. So that should be when a cell is modified to carry out a specific or particular function, right? So example, in this picture here you can see what we call stem cells. Stem cells are what we refer to as unspecialized cells or undifferentiated cells. So these cells are not modified, they are all the same, so they have the potential to become any cell. They have the potential to become any cell in the body. So stem cells are unspecialized, undifferentiated cells, and they have the potential to become any cells in the body. So when a cell is now specialized, it means that that cell now takes on some modification and becomes adapted to carry out a specific function, to do a specific job. Alright, so you understand what cell specialization is. An example here, muscle cells are adapted for contraction, which produces movement. Example, skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, cardiac muscle. All of these are the three types of muscles that are present in the human body. The cardiac muscle is the muscle that makes up the heart. This muscle is a special type of muscle. It has some special tissues, right? These cells are very special. They do not tire, they do not rest, they are constantly contracting, causing movement, and we benefit from that because the time our heart stops beating is the time that we say, Lord, it was good for us to be here. Amen. So the next set is the smooth muscle and the skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle is those muscles that are attached to your skeletal system, your bones. So the muscles like your biceps, your triceps, your quadriceps, your thigh muscle, your femoral muscle, and all of those muscles in your legs, your arms, shoulders, back, and all about. Those are the skeletal muscle. The smooth muscle now are these muscles like the muscles in your intestine that helps with digestion, the muscles in your stomach, your esophagus, all those tubes in your body, especially your intestines. They are smooth muscles, right? So an example of a specialized cell is muscle cells, and these are the types of muscles that are found in the human body. Now, the importance of cell specialization slash modification, right? Specialized or modified cells are important for the efficient functioning of a multicellular organism. Thus, specialization of cells is also known as division of labor. Look at the image here. Each worker has a specific task. That's what we mean by division of labor. So if we had the principal in our school being your teacher for biology, your teacher for INTI, your teacher for maths, and at the same time was your form teacher and the teacher that actually looks over the other teachers. She was the security guard, she works at the canteen, she works in the tuck shop, and she actually sweeps the classroom in the afternoon. That principal would be extremely overworked. So as a result of that, we had to divide the labor. So we had to get somebody to teach you maths, somebody to teach you chemistry, somebody to teach you biology, somebody to teach you integrated science. as well as get somebody to work at the gate and somebody else to share the food in canteen and somebody else to collect the money at the tuck shop. So you get what I mean by specialization or differentiation, or in this case division of labor. So when we do division of labor, it helps us now to take off some of the pressure of each person, and in the same sense within the organism it takes some of the pressure off the cells. So the cell don't have to do every single thing in the body, it can focus on one job. So for example, muscle cells can just focus on contracting and producing movement. Good. So that's what we mean by cell specialization. It is a division of labor among the different cells. So division of labor is not only seen between different cells but also between different organs, as they all work in harmony for the smooth running of a complex organism like the human being. Right? So just like how the image is showing you right there, that everybody hold hands and look like they're in unison. That is what is happening within complex organisms. The cells don't work in opposition to each other, they don't work against each other. Everybody everybody little bit, they say one cocoa full basket, or every drip makes a difference. So every little cell does their little part too, for the good of the entire organism. All right, so that's what we mean, the work in harmony. So that makes the organism more efficient and operate very, very smoothly. Good. um just to note, specialization is only possible in an organism whose body is made up of many different cells. And an organism that has many different cells, we call those multicellular organism. And I know that you would know what we mean by unicellular organism. Yes, you got it correct. So it means one cell. So multicellular means many cell and unicellular means one cell. So you understand now that cell specialization will only occur in multicellular organisms, because it is only in these organisms that have different or many different cells to carry out different tasks. You can't have that in a unicellular organisms. Why? It's only one cell, so the one cell going to have to do everything. Now here are some examples of specialized cells in the human body. The first one we're looking at here is the nerve cell. The nerve cell have one duty, and that duty is to conduct electrical impulses. So if you look at the diagram, you see that this cell, it's very unique. It has some little antenna looking sections on it. We call those dendrites, and we have axon, cell body, and so forth. So you can take image of this. You can make drawings in your notebook so that you can recall what the nerve cell looks like, and more importantly what the function of the nerve cell is. Next one is the red blood cells. Now red blood cells contain a pigment called hemoglobin, and to which oxygen is magnetic. Right, so hemoglobin is like a magnet to oxygen. Good. Hence, red blood cells carry oxygen around the body. Note also, red blood cells have another adaptation. They don't have any nucleus. So if you look at this image right here, you realize there is no nucleus. That's why they have that donut looking shape. They have no nucleus in the middle of the cell. Alright, and as a result of that, these cells don't live very long. So red blood cells tend to live for a maximum of about 4 months, about 4 months. Right, and then they die. So we are constantly making more red blood cells. These are made in your bone marrow. Good. So they are very important. So if you don't have enough red blood cells in your body, they normally say you're anemic, you're short of red blood cells. Females kind of suffer this a little bit if they have heavy menstrual cycle where they lose a lot of blood. Good, they can develop anemia. Alright, so the red blood cells function is to carry oxygen around the body. Now white blood cells is another set of cells that are found in the blood, and their job is to defend the body against pathogens or infectious particles like viruses. Alright, so in this time where we have this virus going around, we need to have good count of our white blood cells. We need to make sure that our white blood cells are in good shape and that we have enough of them to defend our body against diseases. These are some examples of the different types of white blood cells. Good, we don't have to really record what the different types are, but we need to know that the white blood cells function is really just to carry out the different duties. Good. All right, sorry about that. Let me just erase the board there for you. All right, moving on. So next one we have is the bone cells. The bone cells is a connective tissue that stores minerals, right? And the minerals causes hardening. So our bones are very hard. When they are healthy, they are very hard, right? Bone cells provide support and shape for the body, and the bones make up the skeleton, and the skeleton give us our shape. So when the bone cells, if you don't consume a lot of minerals, good, then you can end up having soft bones, and soft bones don't it's not a very good thing, because the least little bounce you get, your bones can break. And what happens that generally as we get older, these mineral reserves tend to go down. Good, and when they go down, meaning that we lose the mineral reserve because your body uses it up, or even if your body is acidic and tends to use up the mineral reserve to kind of neutralize the acid in our body, then we lose the strength in our bones. And if we lose the strength in our bones, then we develop different diseases, things like osteoporosis, arthritis, and you can do a lot of research to find out all the kinds of conditions and diseases that will come up with poor mineral reserves in our bones. Alright, so that's what the bone cells are. They are connective tissues and they store minerals, which causes the hardening, and they support us, giving us shape and giving a body shape and support to stand upright. Because if we didn't have the bones, we'd be like a little slug. Alright, next we have sex cells. Sex cells, we have two groups. We have egg cells and sperm cells, and if you look at the images there, you can see the egg cell is generally larger and the sperm cell is generally smaller. As a matter of fact, the sperm cell is the smallest cell in the human species, and the egg cell is the largest cell in the human species. And their duty is basically to fuse with each other to produce a new offspring. Alright, that's all their duty is, to make new offsprings. Now in plants we have some specialized cells as well. We have root hair cell, and its duty is to absorb water and minerals. So if you guys should recall, I'm certain that most of you have seen already a seed germinating and producing its roots for the first time. Those little hairy looking structure that you see on it, if you look right here, good, if you look right on this image right here, you can see those eerie looking structures. Those are actually, right, so this would be the entire cell right there. Good, but what happens is that as the cell becomes modified, it removes these end walls are broken down, right, and so all of the contents of the cell would pass out, so therefore the cell dies. These walls are also lignified, so that's why no water will leak through it, right? So these cells are thick cell walls, and they contain a lot of lignin. So basically what you should recall for your exam purposes is that these cells, their function is to carry water and minerals up the plant. And remember that the cells are dead and they act like a straw. They are narrow and they're hollow and they're lignified, right? The next type of cell is phloem cells. Phloem cells transport food throughout the plant. These cells are living, but they require support, and the support comes from, as you can see right here, the support comes from the companion cell, and the companion cell is this cell right here, companion cell. Good. It is right here attached to the phloem cell. Now the phloem cell, the walls right here are not completely broken down. You can see the walls right here, they are perforated, or they have some little holes going through them so substances can move through it. And the substance that we're talking about is the food material made by the cell, so it can move through. This is called a sieve plate. Sieve plate is actually what we refer to the walls here. There's no lignin in the walls, the cell walls of the phloem cell, but it is present in the plant cell. Alright guys, good. That is what occurs right here with the phloem cells. They are living, but the xylem cells are dead. Vascular bundle is basically a combination of the xylem cells seen here and the phloem cells seen over on this side. Good, in between them you might have a few cells, they call them packing cells or so forth. Good, but the xylem cells on this side, they are more to the middle of the tree. If you should look at a cross section, I'm sorry I didn't have a cross sectional view of this, but just remember, for exam purposes, the vascular bundle is just referring to the combination of the phloem and the xylem vessels. Now another set of cells, we call these the Palisade cells. Palisade cells contain a very large number of chloroplasts, and if you remember from our previous video, the chloroplast role is to actually carry out the process of photosynthesis. So in the chloroplast you have that green pigment now that is called chlorophyll. Good. So the green pigment that we see in the plants that make the plants green is caused from chlorophyll, right? And in these Palisade cells, they are very, very large. There's a very, very large number of chlorophyll. Yes, chlorophyll contained in the chloroplast, and the chloroplast is a site for photosynthesis. Good. So these cells are located in the upper layers of the leaf, so they try to get as much light as possible. So why we said this cell is specialized is because it have that extraordinary number, right, and an extra number of chloroplasts, and its role is to ensure that it maximizes photosynthesis for the cell. Next set of cells in plants is guard cells. Guard cells are sausage shaped cells that are paired, right, and cause the opening or closing of a stomata. The stomata is the pore within the leaf, and in the stomata, this is where air gets to go into the cell, the leaf, sorry. So air enters through the stomata, right? When the stomata is open, and notice when the stomata is open, it means that the guard cells are swollen, right? When the guard cells are swollen and they have a lot of water in there, that's when the stomata is open and the CO2 can diffuse in for photosynthesis to occur. When the stomatas are flaccid or closed, right, no air goes in or out, right? So the guard cells are important because they actually control the opening and the closing of the stomatal pore within the leaves of plants, right? Very good. Moving on now, we're going to do a little bit of revision. So when we review, we want to look back at all of the things that we did, and what we did was to look at what is cell specialization. So you should be able now to tell me what is cell specialization. Good, and these are questions that would come on the exam. So when you see specialization, you have to recall that cell specialization is the modification, right, or when a cell is adapted to carry out a specific function. And why did we say it was important? We said it was important because cell specialization actually leads to division of labor, and so it provides it prevents cells from being overworked. So it reduces the burden of work on each cell, because now each cell can focus on only one job, right? And if we should ask you now to give some examples of specialized cells in humans, you should be able to recall at least 4 examples of specialized cells in both humans and plants. Alright guys, that's it for the presentation on cell specialization. Hope you learned something. If please subscribe and follow my channel for more videos. We'll move on in next video. We'll move on from cell specialization, so we'll look at the levels of organization now within the organisms. Alright guys, have a good one.